What if I told you there was a way to get double damage in Granblue? Or how about putting so much pressure on your opponent, they're basically playing at half strength? No, I'm not going to tell you to hack the game. In this video, I'm going to tell you all about the Granblue zone, commonly referred to in other fighting games as the corner. The community gave it this nickname because of just how much extra emphasis the corner in Granblue deserves. The corner is where games of Granblue are won and lost. It's so ridiculously important that it's getting its own video. So if you're new to Granblue and you made it here, it's time to celebrate, because after this, you're going to start thinking about the game in a completely different way. The Granblue zone offers some of the following things for free: twice the normal amount of damage, additional pressure on your opponent, the freedom to dominate 2/3 of the screen, effectively shuts down the ability of your opponent to play footsies, and leads to winning more games. But before we can dive into the Granblue zone, we have to illustrate another point about neutral, footsies, and visualizing the threat range of another character. Footsies is the fighting game term that refers to the battle for controlling space in neutral. What this means varies wildly from game to game, but it is a term generally used with two things in mind: movement and encouraging your opponent to take an action that you can take advantage of. Whether that's using a special that's unsafe to close the distance, firing off a projectile that can be hopped over, getting impatient and jumping straight into an anti-air, or something as simple as whiffing a button. Footsies is the preamble to some of the most exciting moments in fighting games. Now, footsies is a bit of a complex topic that we can have a lot of different definitions and opinions on, and even has its own game dedicated to it. So while we could go on and on about that, I don't want you to worry too much about footsies. What I want you to think about instead is the effective range of a character. Character effective range is one of the base components of neutral and footsies. And while these topics can become very complex very quickly, thinking about effective range is a little bit easier to understand. It was described to me like this. Imagine that there is a circle drawn around your character and your opponent. Imagine that this circle is roughly the size of your farthest reaching normal. At this range, an opponent can't react to a button before it comes out, but they can react to it if it whiffs, so they're either going to block it or attempt to whiff punish it. At high level play, top players will attempt to dance in and out of their opponent's effective range. Moving into it encourages them to swing at you, while moving out of it will cause their attack to whiff. If they whiff, you can punish. Here's an example from Granblue vs. EVO Grand Finals this past year in 2022. Watch how both players are trying to stay just in that sweet spot within the range of their opponent, patiently poking until the whiff punish. Now, if you're watching this video, I don't expect you to be able to whiff punish like an EVO champ. Having strong neutral, playing footsies well, and being able to whiff punish are long-term goals that players have to train and work towards. It's not something you can just start doing consistently because you heard that it's possible. But this idea about visualizing the range of an opponent should make you start thinking about the game in a very different way. Instead of just thinking about how to get in on your opponent and get a combo, you can start thinking about how to manipulate where your opponent gets to play and how to force them out of their comfort zone. But now comes the question: how exactly do we force players out of their comfort zone? And what if we had a way to consistently force our opponent to play where they are very uncomfortable? Introducing the Granblue zone. The Granblue zone is this area illustrated here. Commonly referred to as the corner in many fighting games, it was given the name the Granblue zone by the community. While yes, the corner is good in every fighting game, it's even more so in Granblue. In Granblue, the corner gives you access to your biggest combos, puts pressure on the opponent, effectively prevents them from playing footsies, and gives you a ridiculous amount of control over the game. I think the most important thing explained to me was that if you can keep your opponent in the Granblue zone, you're already winning the game. You don't even need to be actively pressuring your opponent. Just sitting patiently at this range is enough to force your opponent to try and do something. And when they do, you can take advantage of it. Now notice that with this illustrated, it shows just how limited the movement range of a player is once they're trapped in the corner. To get out, they might have to take a risk or burn a number of cooldowns to try and escape, both of which are good for you as the person keeping them in the box. Since they can't back away from you any further, you have more control over when you get to enter their range. Additionally, when they're in the corner, they can't make more space, and the opponent's options become that much more limited. On top of that, so long as you keep them in the zone, the risk-reward here is entirely skewed in your favor. If you mess up, they get a bit of damage and a chance to get out of the corner. But if they mess up, they're eating a corner combo, and for a lot of characters in Granblue, that could mean half their life bar in one mistake. This combination of factors, limited space, limited options, the high threat of damage, and the skewed risk versus reward, leads to an immense amount of pressure for a player when they're trapped in the corner. And this combination of limited options and pressure is what leads to opponents in the corner making more mistakes, and you winning more games by keeping them there. These two concepts, visualizing character effective range and keeping opponents in the Granblue zone, completely changed the way I play the game. And hopefully, this video will help you do the same. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and do all those YouTube things. And if you have more topics you'd like me to explore in a guide like this, please let me know down in the comments below. This has been Raidhyn, and I'll see you next time.